report a shot fired at officers trying to stop the vehicle.
We have one officer shot.
We got shots fired. Sounded like an automatic firearm.
Copy, code red, shots fired.
We have an active shooter. We have an active shooter inside the fairground.
Active shooters, the controversies that surround them, and our opinions. And now it's Shots Fired with your hosts, TJ Kirgin, Fat Dark Earth, and Dianna Death Muller-3.
Holy shit, that was badass. We sound like a real fucking radio show.
I know, we're almost like a real podcast now.
It's amazing.
We're vindicated!
Yeah, thank you to the guys that put that together back in the production studio. Holy shit, that's cool.
Yeah.
I feel all important now. Dianna Death Muller-3 is not with us today. He's out on the retail floor making us some money.
Are we going to have to say that every time he's not with us?
Possibly, but he's going to be with us quite a bit.
We should have more
So
than one take
what you're
of
listening to is Shots Fired. I'm TJ Kirgin, your host.
And I'm Fat Dark Earth.
Fat Dark Earth, a.k.a. FDE.
You're fat kid.
No, that's the co-host.
I'm the co-host.
You're the co-host?
I'm a co-hoster.
Is that a Fat Dark Earth cup, a tumbler?
Shit, yeah, it is.
That you're a Yeti-like tumbler
Yeah,
that you're drinking from?
Yeah, I drink out of my own face.
That is awesome because the Fat Dark Earth brand is evidently up and coming.
Yes.
It is.
Just like our Twitch channel,
Just
which
like-
is also the Fat Dark Earth brand.
Self-promotion.
Self-promotion.
Here comes more self-promotion from Fat Dark Earth. Oh, hey, I'll tell you what. Talking about self-promotion,
Yeah, let's
this
talk about that.
entire fucking episode is about me.
It's about you.
Well, actually, it's not just about me, but it is about me being on the cover of Time magazine.
I know.
Can you fucking believe that?
No.
Holy shit. I was on Time magazine's cover. Now, granted, you can't really see my face extremely well, but you can see the Tactical Shit logo on my hat and my shirt, and you can see the epic beard.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm looking down, okay, so if you see the actual Time magazine mural, right, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but if you see it, the reason I'm looking down is they were planning on having me at the table, right, because the whole thing's 245 people around a table. And it's discussing the gun issue in America. And they were going to have me on the table, and my movement, because it's animated, you can see there's actually an animated mural.
Yeah.
I had a suppressed, not SBR, but a suppressed pistol, and it was kind of like a Mark 18 clone type thing. And so I took it apart, laid it on the table, and then I put it back together and aimed it again. So I aimed it, took it apart, laid it on the table, and then put it back together and aimed it again.
Yeah.
And they were going to make that part of my animation, you know, like, and evidently it didn't work, right? And so after 15 takes, I guess that got cut and left on the production room floor. But the reason I'm looking down at that rifle is because I'm unscrewing the suppressor, and then I'm popping the pins, taking it apart.
There you go.
And so that's the action that I'm doing in that picture. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about, Time magazine, like the actual Time magazine, they have done a piece called Guns in America. They didn't actually do it. It was done by an artist, a French artist named JR. And JR is your quintessential Frenchman, never touched a gun before, comes from a country where guns are only in the hands of terrorists and maybe some special police units.
Yeah.
And but he's lived in America for a few years, and he was fascinated by this gun thing, you know, the gun issue, the gun lifestyle, the anti-gun lifestyle, whatever it is. And so what he's famous for worldwide, one of the top 100 influencers in the world, according to Time magazine, is his art. He does murals. And the way he does the murals is he takes pictures of people, or actually videos of people, on a green screen, just like your local weather chick, right? And then what he does is he does this in different places, and then he photoshops all these people together as if they're together in a community setting, like interacting with one another, even though they were all photographed separately.
Yeah.
And then to take it up a notch, so this art piece is going to travel the country. All right. I do believe it's coming to St. Louis. I know it's also going to Washington, D.C., and I believe Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. I'm not exactly sure. But there's also a way that, you know, they're going to try to get it into more markets and museums. It's going out as an 18-foot video mural.
Yeah. So
18 foot tall. My head's going to be pretty big on that one. Right, on the cover, it's like the size of my thumbnail.
Yeah.
But on the 18-foot, mural, I might be a little bit. My head might be a little big.
It's a little swollen.
Right.
Yeah. It's okay.
But what you can do is then you can click on each person.
Yeah.
In the 200, in this case, the 248 people that are involved in the gun issue. There's anti-gun people. There's people in the middle. There's pro-gun people. And I do want to say Out of the 248 people that were involved, the NRA declined to be involved.
Why do you think that was?
Because they're dumbasses. Because they were afraid that Time Magazine, a liberal media, no doubt about it, they were afraid Time Magazine was going to railroad them.
Right.
And you know what? I think that's justified. I was afraid. I got an email a few months ago from a gal that said she was with Time Magazine and she wanted to talk to me. And I was like, sure, nice try, ISIS. And so I called her up. Well, no, I skip traced her a little bit. I Googled her name and her email address. And sure enough, she actually works for Time Magazine. I'm like, holy shit, I better call this chick back. So I call her back and I tell her the tactical shit story and the TJ Kirgin, a.k.a. Sig Glockincolt story. And she's like, we love your story. You were referred to us by someone. We'd like you to be part of this project, Guns in America, done by JR the Muralist.
Yeah.
Would you be available in St. Louis next Thursday at 4 o'clock to come down and be photographed? And can you bring as many guns as you can? And I'm like, I looked at the address of where this photo shoot was, and it was in South St. Louis City. And I was like, look, honey, I got a lot of guns, but I ain't bringing them all there, right? And so I told her I'll bring one gun because I was really apprehensive. I'm like, why do you want me to bring so many guns, right?
Yeah.
And so then I went to the Lucas Oil PCC Championship with you.
Yeah, you did.
And who walks up at the PCC Championship? Corinne Mosher.
Yep.
Right?
Shield Maiden.
Shield Maiden. And for those of you who don't know who Corinne Mosher is, you need to be following her. Corinne Mosher, Shield Maiden on Instagram. She is a firearms instructor and competitive shooter from Kansas. And she is fucking awesome. She also plays the violin and the piano, and I love Corinne to death.
Yeah, phenomenal shooter.
Oh, my God, yeah. She beat me in last year's AK match, and I won this year's AK match. Why? Because Corinne went to Utah. Thank you, Corinne. So anyway, I aspire to be as good a shooter as Corinne Mosher someday, and is tactically proficient. She traveled the world with Instructor Zero. A couple months ago.
Yeah.
She's the real deal. But anyway, so she comes up to me and she's like, hey, are you going to be in this, have you heard about this Time thing? I'm like, yeah, actually I am. And she's like, well, I'm thinking about doing it, but I'm really worried that they're going to twist our words and they're going to make us look bad and, make us look like bait killers and everything else. And I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, let's take that chance. There's all PR is good PR. Let's go do this. And she said, okay, if you do it, I do it.
Yeah.
A little while later, we were at another stage, and Dianna Muller comes up. Dianna Muller is world champion three-gunner, Dianna Muller, sponsored by everyone, Dianna Muller, driving around in a giant fucking tractor-trailer truck with Benelli logos and every logo under the sun, 5'11". She's literally sponsored by everybody that's, like, publicly traded, right?
Yeah.
And she's an awesome human being. She's a spokeswoman for the NRA. She comes up to me. And she says, hey, did you hear about this? She was talking to me about another deal she's putting on down in Florida this March. We'll talk about that in another show. But she comes up to me and she says, do you hear about this Time Magazine thing? And I said, well, yeah, actually, I'm going in St. Louis at 4 o'clock next Thursday to take my picture. And she goes, shit. And I'm like, what? And she goes, well, I guess I have to go. I have to go then. And I said, why is that? And she goes, I'm not letting you represent the gun community.
Yeah, when you told us you were going to be on time, we thought it was for a completely different reason. We're like, oh, they finally got him. They finally got him. I started putting in my
You got
my
applications
going to places. I was like, it was a good run. It was a good run.
So anyway, all jokes aside, Corinne and I and Dianna Muller and Adam Weber from Weber Tactical, we all met for lunch before the supposed photo shoot. We were really worried about this thing because we're like, okay, so we're going to this photo shoot and there's going to be a bunch of anti-gun people there. What are we walking into? And they said that we're going to be checked at the door and we're going to be disarmed essentially. Bring our guns, but don't bring any ammunition. Okay. And so we brought Adam Weber with us from Weber Tactical because he actually still has a badge in St. Louis. And so we brought him with us as our security essentially because we're walking into a place possibly with people that hate gun people, and we're going to leave our guns at the door, right? So anyway, we found out when we got there we didn't really need Adam So he left eventually because it really was a peaceful setting. It was really awesome. And they had security that was over the top. They had a bunch of state troopers off duty working, and these guys were on it. Like, I'd reach into my bag to grab a stick of gum, and this dude would be like, you know, getting ready to fucking break my neck. So the security was over the top. But then after we got there, and, you know, so the way it went down was each one of us went up into the green room, and we did the photo shoot with the video. And in a lot of cases, they had people hold the guns at the ready, act like they're drawing the guns, act like they're aiming the guns, guys shooting shotguns up in the air like they're shooting ducks, you know, whatever. And one of our first fears was like, okay, so you want me to aim the gun like this, and then you're going to edit this on a green screen, and you're going to have me aiming it like a baby, right? Yeah. And they assured us, absolutely not, that's not going to happen. Then they also made us sign a contract. And the contract said, hey, when you sign this, we can twist your words any way we want to and edit it any way we want to, and you can't do shit about it. In so many words. I'm not being a lawyer, right? But anyway, but they assured us, your words will not be edited. The only thing they will edit out is uhs, ums, and long pauses. And so we were like, sure you won't. But anyway, we signed the contract anyway because, again, we're going to proceed with this, and it's an act of faith. Some of the people that were there, and if you're listening, I apologize, but some of the guys that were there to also participate were not exactly the people that you want representing the gun community. Can you say FUD? Super FUDs. Super FUDs that were into like Civil War reenactment.
Was Voda there?
No, I didn't see Voda, but there was definitely some.
It wasn't that bad.
No, there was some fucking Voda-esque type dudes.
I saw one of the guys and he had his head turned. I was like, oh, God, is that Voda?
And so after oh, my God, that would have made the whole thing a joke.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, they had people kind of like that there. And Dianna and I were like, holy shit, I'm so glad we came to this because if we didn't, that is who would represent.
Yeah.
And so that's where the NRA fucks up, right? They step back and and don't become part of the discussion because out of fear, you know, fear of what?
Were they really not part of it though? I mean,
no, they weren't. I mean, there
was there.
There were NRA members present
and
for
reps,
sure.
kind of representatives.
Yeah, for sure.
Colian wasn't there.
No, Colian was not there.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of badass black gun guys like Kevin Dixie.
Yeah.
Kevin Dixie from N.O.C Firearms.
Yeah, we've had him.
No other choice.
We had an interview with him.
Yeah, he's actually a local guy here in St. Louis. I like what he's doing. And Maj from Black Rifles Matter. Black Guns Matter.
Black Guns Matter.
Black Guns Matter.
Yeah.
We sell Black Rifles Matter. He sells Black Guns Matter. And then tons of other, shall I say, influencers within the gun industry.
Yeah.
Antonia Okafor, Amy Robbins, you know, and the list goes on and on, as well as Mike Brown's mom.
Yeah, she was.
And what's that senator that got shot in the head? That the female senator, anti-gun chick, big time.
I'm pulling up.
Yeah, whatever.
So
she, you know, it was the whole gamut, right? Yeah. And they did these photo shoots, and what they also did is after the photo shoot, they did an audio interview, and you could. And that's what we're getting ready to play for you is these short audio interviews that they did not edit. So you can literally go click on the link in this podcast, go to Time Magazine, Guns in America, and you can literally click on each of these 248 people, myself included. I'm in the upper right quadrant, just below the sign.
Yeah.
Okay. You click on us, and you can hear our short stories unedited, and I plan on listening to all of them. I've probably only listened to 30 or 40 so far. But I'll tell you what, out of the ones I've listened to on both sides of the table, it's the whole thing is featured as 248 people around a table. And there's guns laying all over the table. That's why they wanted all the guns. Yeah. Right? And people are talking. Dixie is right at the front of the table.
Yeah.
Like he got center, fucking right front, boom.
So what it kind of looks like to explain to people that might not look at it is think of the Last Supper.
Right.
But with 245 people?
248.
248 people just jammed around the table. And Kevin Dixie is
Jesus.
Is no shit in the middle doing like some like half Jesus arm thing.
Right.
And I'm like, motherfucker.
Take this AR-15.
That's gay right there.
Take this AR-15 and pew with it. This is my body.
Dude, he is so
Take this
psyched
Liberal
about that.
Tears gun oil, This is my blood.
Yeah, dude, he is so
Can you tell my
psyched
grandmother
about
wanted
that.
me to be a priest?
Oh, really?
She did.
Oh,
she was
God.
totally fucking disappointed.
That'd be scary.
Yeah, for sure. Sig Glockincolt says mass.
Forgive me, Father.
All right,
for I
so
have
let's
sinned.
jump into the fun stuff. I'm going to pull up here the actual mural.
So,
And first, let's listen to what I had to say.
Unfortunately,
Because it's all about me today. Here.
I'm armed because I'm free. I'm free because I'm armed. I'm a former law enforcement officer. I was on the drug and gang unit in North St. Louis County for several years. And it was at that time that I learned that, unfortunately, there's bad men in the world that do bad things. The only way to stop a violence, unfortunately, is with violence. And an armed society is a polite society, meaning good guys with guns are a necessary thing to prevent evil acts of evil men. The gun community, that's a funny concept. Is there a hammer community or like a knife community or something? Well, within the gun community, I guess it's a community because we've all come together like we're on a ship and the ship's headed towards an iceberg, or maybe it's got a few leaks in it. All these people of all different walks of life that have chosen to own a gun, have a gun for their own protection, their home's protection, their family's protection, or they work with a gun, they're a cop, they're a security guard, they're a military special forces guy, contractor, whatever. The gun community has tons of facets. I personally represent the tactical community, which is a subset of the gun community. People that have chosen to live a tactical lifestyle, or, that they associate the word tactical with their life or their lifestyle. There's millions of them. I was actually interviewed the other day and somebody asked me, where did this culture come from? And it was always there. There was always a gun culture. There was always a tactical culture. It wasn't mainstream. It was law enforcement. It was military, special forces, and gun collectors and things like that. But then I think a lot of things came together, different forces came together in the last 5-6 years that created this mainstream thing. I believe it to be, first of all,
Obama.
Law enforcement. A lot of people think that this is the militarization of law enforcement, and that's a bad thing. But in reality, law enforcement, when I was a police officer in 1995, I began carrying an AR-15 in my car and got certified to carry it because of the Hollywood bank robbery shootout in Los Angeles, where they had to go to a gun shop, steal guns to go shoot the bad guys because they were wearing body armor. So that was an escalation of force. The bad guys had body armor and rifles, the cops didn't, so they went out and got them. Fast forward to a few years ago, July, Dallas, Texas, what was it, 5 or 8 or 7 cops got killed by a sniper. Next thing you know, all law enforcement's now, everywhere they go, they're wearing body armor, rifle, ballistic body armor like they're soldiers. It's not that cops are militarizing because they want to. It's out of necessity. The bad guy one-ups. The force continuum says the cops have to one-up the bad guy. Otherwise, they don't win. So that culture has spread within law enforcement, where it used to be just SWAT. Now a lot of cops are tactical, right? Then you've got military veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan. Both those wars were on YouTube. We watched them, whether you were appalled by it or whether you were entertained by it, whatever. These guys fought very public wars, and they came home, and when they came home, they brought their tactical lifestyles with them. And the people back home watching them on YouTube, they idolize them, right? And with idolatry comes mimicry, right? So your Joe Blow civilian starts wanting to be more tactical, like the Navy SEAL guy or the Green Beret or whatever. But then you've got the proliferation of CCW, concealed carry, right? When I quit being a cop, concealed carry wasn't a thing, right? I carried my gun illegally after I was a cop, before CCW came to be. I think the statute of limitations are up on that. But, because I was an ex-cop, I was a drug cop, put a lot of people in jail, and I wasn't going to walk around St. Louis without a gun on me. So I took that risk. But now you don't have to. CCW is almost in every state. And because now the average civilian can make a decision to carry a gun, that means there's a lot more good guys with a gun. But those civilians, when they make that decision to carry a gun, some of them are making a decision to adopt that tactical lifestyle, which involves the way they dress, the way they act, how they spend their money on gun parts or training or whatever. Training's a big one. The Founding Fathers gave us the Second Amendment, which is just as important to me as the First Amendment is to you as a media person. It says right on it, shall not be infringed, right? Everybody has a right to bear arms, right? And, people debate all day long, what does bear mean? What does infringed mean? Does this mean we can only carry muskets? Is it, AR-15 not a musket? There's all kinds of debate that can be had within there, but it's really simple. We have the right to bear arms as civilians, and it cannot be infringed, okay? But I firmly believe that
I firmly believe it. Your phone just shut off halfway through that.
What the fuck?
if you decide to do that, if you decide to exercise that right, it's also your responsibility to get training. Not just shooting training, but how to be safe with a gun. What are the laws in your city, your state, your country, as far as how they pertain to self-defense or the defense of others or the defense of property. And I think that's where we're falling short as a society or as a gun community. We say, okay, we have the right to carry guns and nobody can make us take any training because it's our right. We should make a decision to get the training because it's for our own good. It's going to reduce our criminal and civil liability, and it's going to make us a much more efficient good guy with a gun, a much safer good guy with a gun.
AKA RGO.
RGO. I feel bad for Josh because he's sitting over there, and
right.
we're like completely solid.
We're listening to the audio. We can't make any noise.
Yeah.
And Josh, who's taking notes so that he can write the article.
Yeah.
Right. He can't hear shit.
Yeah.
So we're just like silently hanging out in the room,
just like silently staring at each other.
So I like to talk, obviously.
Yeah.
And that was a very long one. The other ones aren't nearly as long, but they gave us up to 3 minutes, so I used all of it, then some.
Yeah. But it was well said, and I think
thank you.
I told you that last night when you called me on the phone. In side story, TJ called me last night, and he was ecstatic about it.
I was
like laying on the couch.
Myself.
He's like, I called you so late, but I'm so excited.
Well, I had about 3 glasses of Redemption Rye 92 proof in me. And when I saw that this had come out, and I listened to the audio, and I was sweating balls.
Yeah.
There was an audio interview, which you just heard. There was also a lengthy video interview, and
your video interview is actually part of it is in the behind the scenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I noticed that they took a few clips from the video interview and put them in there's like 2 different videos that it's in, and it's different parts of me, but they left a lot of that on the floor. And I was really worried about some of those things I said in that and how they could be taken out of context if they edited it wrong.
Yeah.
But again, Time Magazine, my hat is off to you that you guys let us say what we wanted, and us and everybody else in this thing. I want to play a couple more for you, and then what we want to do with this podcast is we want to educate you that this project by JR, the muralist, is out there. It's going to be traveling the country. It's on time.com. And it's called Guns in America, and we strongly suggest that you, if you consider yourself at all an activist in the 2A community, you need to listen to, I would say, all 248 of these people. You're not going to agree with all of them. I don't. But, the idea behind what this is this is what happens when 248 people come to a table and literally just say, okay, here's my opinion. And nobody says, shut up.
Yeah.
You can't think that way.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to say what they want at the table.
Yeah.
And nobody got any fights. There wasn't any shootings. And the thing was, the audio guy, after I got done being interviewed, he turned the thing off and still interviewed me for like 20 minutes. He was so fascinated by what I had to say. He wanted to keep going even though we weren't recording. And afterwards, he's like, God, I wish I could have recorded that whole thing. But during that interview, I said, what was the other people like? He said that the other folks, I heard the anti-gunners were here yesterday. And he's like, well, they were, but I wouldn't call them anti-gunners. He said, in this project, we didn't really have any anti-gunners.
Yeah.
There was no moms demand action type people.
Yeah, and have old Hoggy running around.
It was everybody. If you read the Time Magazine stuff, it was everybody from the middle.
Yeah.
The right of the middle and the left of the middle.
Yeah.
The right wing and the left wing is the same fucking bird.
Yeah.
Right? And they brought us together. So let's just play a couple more of these. I want to play next. I'm going to tap Dianna Muller. Let's listen to what she had to say.
My name is Dianna Muller, and I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm a 22-year retired police officer from the city of Tulsa, and a current professional 3-gun shooter. The Second Amendment and the gun issue is important to me for many different facets. So from a police officer's perspective, I know exactly how long it takes me to get to a residence after a 911 call, and I feel like it's important for everybody to be their own first responder. Even as a police officer, I was my own first responder until my buddies got there, and it's a terrible feeling to be standing toe-to-toe with evil and not have a way to defend yourself. As a competitor and as a hunter, I use my firearms to provide meat for my family. I use my firearms for sport, and it's a very loving, respectful community, and we have a lot of fun. It's something that the whole family can do. Everybody can do it. As a citizen, I believe that our founding fathers wanted everybody to be armed and disciplined. They said so. As a woman, I really feel like the bottom line is that the gun issue is a woman's issue. It is the great equalizer. So it doesn't matter if a 250-pound man is trying to kick in my door and eventually does. I have a way to defend myself. I do not have to be a victim, and I do not have to get raped. I do not have to get murdered. I do not have to get beat up. I don't want that on anybody. So I really want everybody to know how to protect themselves and be able to do that. As far as the gun community, I really want to share with the world that the gun community is the first community that wants safety and education. We don't believe legislation is the answer. We believe that education is the answer. And I'm an NRA member, and the NRA has a couple of programs that's designed to actually do something to help in school situations, school shootings. The first one is Eddie Eagle teaches kids how to, they find a gun, it teaches them what to do. And the second one is the School Shield program, which is a free opportunity for schools to reach out to the NRA and have them help harden their schools, have them talk about firearms in the schools if that's their choice. But there's a lot of things that our community is doing to actually take steps to help in this area. The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a program called Project Child Safe. If you're in need of a gun lock, all you have to do is call them and they will send out as many as you would like for free. They also have a program called Don't Lie for the Other Guy, which is basically teaching people that aren't familiar that you should not buy firearms for people who are not capable or qualified to buy their own firearms. So our community is doing something to help in this arena, and I don't feel like we're getting the credit for that. I feel like
she was talking about straw purchases there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to cut Dianna off right there because we want to get a few more people in. And we don't want to take this podcast on too long. And we want you to go to Time Magazine, go to Guns in America, and do this on your own time.
Yeah.
You can listen to a couple here and a couple there, and then you can comment on it. If you read the comments on the Time Magazine post on Facebook or Instagram, it will give you AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The anti-gunners have come out in full force. But let's now hear from Kevin Dixie.
Yo, real quick, did you hear that Miss D threw in the old God created man, but Sam Colt made him equal? Did you hear that?
I did.
She goes, yeah, guns. It's a great equalizer. I was like,
yeah.
I heard that last night. I was like, oh, she said it.
Yeah. Her interview is awesome. Yeah. Every one of these. Yeah. Let's listen to Kevin Dixie, and then I want to look at there's a surgeon, and the surgeon, they brought the surgeon in because the surgeon, hates gunshot wounds. Mm-hmm. But then he gets in there and he's like, but I love guns. I own guns.
Yeah.
And so anyway, let's listen to Kevin Dixie. Kevin is doing amazing things.
God, I love Kevin.
In the urban community.
Yeah.
Should I say it? The black community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
more than firearms.
Yeah. I mean, and the NRA is behind Kevin big time.
Yeah.
Right? Because the major push in the NRA right now is to arm good guys, good guy blacks, so that there's more good guys with guns in every community, not just the one.
Can I pontificate on Kevin real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
So I've known Kevin for a long time, and I actually shot with Kevin before I met Kevin. He was at the range one time, and he needed a bay. We were down at Arnold, and he and a couple of his buddies were hanging out. I turned around, I was like, hey, man, you want to share the bay with us? I was like, come on up. We got burgers, too, because we were having like a barbecue and shit. And he's like, yeah, okay. Came up, shared some food, and that's how I met Kevin. And Kevin does a lot more than just firearms. His outreach program is going into the urban city and like helping kids and helping families, not just with firearms and staying safe and staying away from bad stuff, but also like day-to-day stuff like finances. How to act. How to be a responsible adult. Stuff like that. I mean, it's fine. Dude is an awesome guy.
Dude's over the top, and that's why he is sitting at the head of the table like the black Jesus that he is. Here, hold on. Here comes Kevin Dixie.
My name is Kevin Dixie, or people call me KD of N.O.C. N.O.C. stands for No Other Choice Firearms Training. I am the founder of No Other Choice Firearms Training here out of St. Louis, Missouri. And bigger than guns, what I would like to tell people about is perspective. So when we look at issues that are surrounding the country and things that are happening that are challenging us and forcing us kind of into opposite corners, if you will, to where only time we come out to greet each other is actually to argue and to have irrational debates on both sides. And what I wanted to do is when I decided to put myself out in the public eye is to bring a different perspective. One of the perspectives I bring is actual resolution. Like, how do we actually solve problems? Let's forget looking through things through one particular lens or another, but let's actually step out and engage with people and fix the problems versus having conversation about the problems. So I started a program called Aiming for the Truth. Aiming for the truth is doing exactly that. We are aiming for the truth around violence. What is causing people to be violent? Because no matter what tool they have, if they're going to do a violent act, they will. People will punch you. People will hit you with their car. I mean, we've had people get set on fire. So there are all kind of things that people use when they are acting irrationally and violent. So how can we fix that? And what are the factors in society that are causing people to be violent? What are the big ones? So I decided to use my life as an example and learning things I've learned over time that have shown me that if we can address these things, we can actually fix the machine, which is the person, and we can keep people from being less violent. If we can have less violent people, even down to say someone who's trying to rob you or mug you, then we have less legally armed people shooting them, thus we have less shootings, thus we have less crime, right? And it's a big picture approach. And so how do we do it? So aiming for the truth, we address things like things that cause people to be violent. So we start dealing with topics like fatherhood, rebuilding a family. Family to me is the cornerstone of society. And although I was raised by a single mom, I didn't have a dad. I grew up in the inner city, drug dealing. You name an environment, and if it's bad, it was probably mine. When I walked out of my house, I saw at the corner of my street a tombstone retailer. Across the street from that tombstone retailer is the city's largest cemetery. And before I can get off my front porch, gangs, drug dealing, prostitution, all kind of horrible crime. And not all of it was committed with firearms. So I grew up in an environment that was harsh, but I decided to view it for what it was and try to see how I can have an impact, even as a teenager. And so what I learned was that we need fathers around, because I didn't have a dad, and a lot of the guys that were out doing things that were rambunctious didn't either, right? But we can't go back and make excuses. We can only fix it. And how do we fix it? So we want fathers involved with their children. We want children to help hold their parents accountable for.
All right. So if you want to listen to the rest of Kevin Dixie, go to Time Magazine, go to Guns in America, click on Kevin right at the front of the table. His audio, he's like me. He talked for a long time. That's about 20% of his deal, and it's absolutely riveting, and he says everything 100% correct. Yeah. You know, I mean, I love everything that Kevin's doing.
Yeah, he never pulls punches. That's what I like about him.
The sponsors of today's show is
O-Lite.
My O-face.
Oh, God.
You know, I get my O-face every
just
time.
Take it out of the box.
Every time. Oh, you want me to pull it out?
Oh, my gosh.
I'm going to pull out my O-Lite.
Oh, just pull it out.
I'm pulling out the O-Lite PL2.
He's pulling it out.
RL Balder. B-A-L-D-R.
He's pulling out his Balder.
Which is a really cool 1200 lumen.
Yeah.
Powered by two CR123 lights, 1200 lumen, not too oversized. It's about the size of a what would you
Surefire?
About the size of a Surefire light.
SL5.
And it's got the patented O-Lite. I don't know if it's patented or not. It's got the unique to O-Lite quick release that is fixed to and integrated into the light system. It's got pressure pads on the right and left, so it's ambidextrous. But it also has a laser, an adjustable laser sight on the bottom of the light, which is nice and compact, tucked up under the O-Lite, the PL2 RL.
It's about the size of a Streamlight, one of the Streamlight.
Yeah, it's
cams.
actually a little smaller in length, I think, than a Streamlight. But this is a highly anticipated red laser version, 1,200 lumens. So basically, it's a PL2 Valkyrie with the laser on it.
Yeah.
Right? And so I've got my Glock 19 here, already cleared it, right? We're going to send a desk pop into the sky. Oh, no, nothing happened. And then we're going to open our quick release, throw that thing on there.
He's
Bang.
also got his Glock adapter on there.
It's now
Olight gives you one of those.
Yeah, it's now inserted.
Yep.
Olight is now inserted on the Glock.
There you go.
And I got 1,200 lumens and red lasers, red laser beams. You can see the laser burning the retina in the $1,200 or $12,000 camera.
And he's still doing it.
Can I put my laser on you? No, I'll put it on that curtain.
No,
see the
please,
laser?
no, there's a gun on
See
there.
the laser? See the laser? There's a laser. There's a laser and a light. Now, here's the cool thing about the laser and the light. There's a selector that I can get with my weak hand here, or I could possibly reach it with my index, but I think my weak hand's probably better for this. So I've got the light, and I can turn the light to just light, so there's no laser. See, no laser?
Yes, I see.
Okay. And I can go to the middle setting, which is light and laser.
That's both.
Right.
Double threat.
And then I can also flip it to the left, and I get laser only for when I'm doing my day ops.
Day ops.
Right. And so that actually pretty cool. Not accurate. Does need to be adjusted. I haven't adjusted it yet.
Yeah.
This would put my shot quite a bit to the right. But this is the Olight PL2 RL, which is a red laser. The Chinese, you know, they have this incredible knack for marketing, right? RL, red laser. It has a 2-hour lifespan if you leave it on.
Don't leave your lasers on.
Yeah, don't leave your lasers on. And, you know, absolutely awesome. So here's the deal, though. This thing is launching today. If you're listening to this podcast on day one, it is Monday, the 29th of October, 2018. And today only, you can get this from Olight's website. I believe OlightWorld.com.
Yeah.
OlightWorld.com. You can get the Olight 2 PL2 Valkyrie
PL2.
RL red laser. You can get it for their $129.99 price.
Yeah.
30% off of that. I think it's 30 or 35.
And these are getting more popular. Olight is getting more popular in the
Oh,
market.
yeah.
So you can now find holsters
Yeah.
that are Olight compatible.
Yeah.
Or you can just have guys make your holsters for us like we all do.
Right.
And the 1,200 lumens doesn't really knock out the laser. You can still see it because that's one of the things, you know. I got a super bright flashlight, but now I can't see my laser dot anymore.
Right.
You can still pick up the laser.
Oh, you can
It's
absolutely
red.
pick up the
Yeah,
laser.
you're fine with that.
So think about this now, $129, and today it's 30 or 35%. I don't know, whatever the deal is. You click on the link above, you click on the link below, you go to Olight World today, October 29th, and you get almost or over a third off of $129. That's putting it down into what, the 70 somethings?
You couldn't even buy a flashlight for your gun that would cost $70 and be as good.
No, and you're getting a laser, you're getting a quick release mount, you're getting the pressure pads ambidextrous, the ability to select between laser, light and laser, or just light. Hats off to you, Olight. Great job. Thanks for sponsoring the Shots Fired Time Magazine Podcast Edition.
Right on.
And we'll get back to more podcasts right now. I got
He's
two
100%.
more I want to play before we wrap this up. We're already 34 minutes into the show. We try to keep these shows at about 30 to 45 minutes. So this guy right here, is that him? Yeah, Mark Hughes. Mark Hughes is from Grand Prairie, Texas. And some of you guys might remember him when the shootings happened in Dallas and the 8 cops got shot during that big protest downtown. The sniper took out all those cops. You remember the black guy that was open carrying that the entire media was like, this guy is wanted by the Texas police. And blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's this guy. Check him out.
My name is Mark Hughes. I reside here in Dallas, Fort Worth. I purchased my first gun back in 2009. It was a .45 caliber gun. I had never purchased a gun before. I had shot a gun maybe once or twice, but I really just wanted a gun for the sense of protection. I had always been scared of guns, so I knew I had to go to a couple of shooting ranges to get experience of shooting it. My second gun I purchased in 2016. It was an AR-15. My AR-15 is what brought me to the spotlight. It was in the midst of the Alton Sterling and Philando Castillo murders. We had a protest here in Dallas, and I knew I wanted to take my rifle to the protest because we had Philando Castillo, who had been doing nothing wrong but notifying a police officer that he had a concealed handgun license, and that took his life. And throughout the country, being an African-American man, open carry and having a concealed handgun license has become second nature to almost a murder for police officers. They're getting gunned down for no apparent reason. So I wanted to take my gun out to the protest to say that we're citizens here in America too. The Second Amendment applies to us just as well as it applies to anyone else. And by me taking my rifle to the protest, the very thing that I was protesting against, I found myself being accused of and falling victim to. 5 officers lost their lives that night, and a couple of civilians were hit by gunfire. It was a tragic moment. But again, the same narrative was created. Being black, we're almost always victimized. And that night, I was a black man with a gun. Though there were multiple other individuals carrying long rifles out there that night, I was the one that they pointed at being the suspect. Not only did they release my image to local newspapers, but they released my image worldwide as being one of the biggest mass murderers to police enforcement in the United States ever. And so I have mixed emotions when it comes to gun rights. From a lot of the narrative that's being created and through the history we've shown that the Second Amendment doesn't apply to black folks. It doesn't apply to black folks. In my city, in Arlington, Texas, we have individuals that are white that exercise their rights at least once or twice a month. They walk up busy streets and nothing happens to them. But the moment that a black man brings out a rifle, he's now victimized. He becomes a criminal. We're now stopped and they're asking us to see our rifles to see if the gun's been stolen. And that's against the law, but they do.
And that's a problem, right? So you may not agree with everything the dude's saying, but I mean, this is what's awesome about this project.
Yeah.
He goes on, I think a few minutes later, he says that he owns an AR-15, but why does anybody need a semi-automatic rifle? He'd be cool if they got taken away. Like, I mean, it's a really weird paradigm that this guy lives in, but that's what time brought together was 248 different opinions of views, you know, and it shows that it's much more than I'm anti-gun or I'm pro-gun. That's not at all what this thing is about.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's just another example. I want to play Corinne Mosher real quick. We'll go with some Corinne.
My name is Corinne Mosher. I am a firearms instructor from Kansas City, Kansas. I am also the wife of a police officer and a mother and a competitive shooter. I got introduced to firearms in late 2010. Before that, I had spent my life as a musician. I was a concert violinist, and I had a private music studio for about 6 years before I got heavily into the training aspect of firearms, which is what I fell in love with, was the training. I took a concealed carry class in late 2010 and was really impressed with the very heavy responsibility that not only carrying a firearm is every day, but just being around guns in general. And I decided this was an all-in or all-out type affair. So I had really at that point no interest in guns at all. My husband being a police officer, I was familiar with them. Both my parents were in the military, but I never saw any guns except for when we went to the military parades. So I very reluctantly got into training for concealed carry and became an instructor because my husband and I wanted to start a training company in Kansas and Missouri for concealed carry. So I went along with that and eventually ended up teaching at a gun range in Olathe, Kansas. When I became an instructor, I was the secondary instructor under a fantastic guy named Rick Staples, and he was so inspiring with the way that he taught, and everything made so much sense that I really caught the training bug. And so my interest in firearms began with the use of firearms for self-defense, specifically for women. As a woman, I felt very passionately about women learning to defend themselves in a way that would make them equal to their attacker. I am not a small girl. I work out. I have trained in martial arts, but even I know that all of that physical stuff is I'm still at a loss when it comes to if I had to defend myself physically hand-to-hand against a guy. So the firearm is the equalizer. It's been proven to be so throughout history. So my use of firearms was for self-defense, and I fell in love with training. I wanted to learn everything there was to know, and then I wanted to share that knowledge. So at the range that I work at now, I became director of education, responsible for creating our introduction to handgun courses for women specifically.
So that's about half of Corinne's speech. If you want to listen to the rest of it, check out the Time magazine, time.com. Go to Guns in America. Click on Corinne. She's in the lower right corner of the mural.
Yeah, she forgot to say badass.
Oh, yeah, the certifiable badass part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think this is the doctor guy I wanted to play. I haven't heard this one yet. Let's listen to
My
this
name
guy,
is Michael Foreman. I'm a trauma surgeon, a father, and a husband. The gun violence question is important to me for a variety of reasons. I deal with it professionally, taking care of victims of gunshot violence. I also live in a world where gunshot violence exists and where each and every one of us is potentially at risk for suffering that problem. I'm also a little unusual, I suspect, because I'm what most people would refer to as a gun nut. I enjoy firearms, I enjoy shooting them, I enjoy collecting them, and it angers me when I see them misused, when I see them used in senseless violence. My biggest concern is that we're focusing on the wrong thing. What we need to be focusing on is violence. I can tell you as a trauma surgeon, I have seen people killed with any variety of objects. Guns make it a little easier, perhaps, but I will tell you that a brick or a bat or a fist or a knife makes you just as dead as the bullet.
Don't forget a screwdriver. Screwdrivers do a good job.
Yeah, screwdrivers.
So that guy's extremely powerful. His name's Michael Foreman. He's a trauma surgeon in Dallas, Texas, 65 years old. He was actually one of the featured ones. You can go on and there's so much to do within this website, this mobile app. It's all mobile friendly. Go to Time Magazine, Guns in America, and check out these 248 stories. Check out the stories from the ones that we didn't get a chance to get to here in the podcast, like Antonia Okafor, Maj, some of these other folks. And I'm going to keep listening. I'm going to listen to all of it, even Mike Jones' mama. You know, I'm going to listen to what she had to say, although it probably didn't make sense. Anyway, that's the end of the podcast.
Yep.
The podcast, the Time Magazine edition. I can tell you that right before Time Magazine, I was interviewed about the tactical community with by Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah.
So very possibly we might be doing a Rolling Stone edition very soon.
On the cover of the Rolling Stone.
Yeah, I don't think I'll make the cover, but I might get some bylines. They talked to me about the culture, the gun and tactical culture, and where it came from. And so I spoke at length about that in the interview. I know they were also interviewing Coleon Noir and Matt Best, and so we'll see if that comes out.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
yeah. All right, so that's about to the end of the podcast. We're getting on 51.
Holy shit, 51 minutes.
Time to go.
Does anybody still listening?
Probably not.
Is anybody still listening? Message me if you listen this far. If you listen this far, let me know you listen this far.
The code word is banana.
Code word is banana. Thank you to our other sponsors, Diamond Head, the only flip sights you want on your AR-15.
Right.
And Zorlock. If you have a reason to lock your firearm but want access to it quickly, like leaving it in your car when you go in places where guns aren't allowed, Zorlock is the answer. Super awesome, super efficient, super affordable. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Shots Fired, episode 17, Time Magazine edition is over.
Deuces.